turn off there and take it over to the kind of like a D-arm pad. And there's a whole host of emergency vehicles there to meet me. And taxi in, they tell me shut it down. They chalk me. I open the canopy, and one of the crash recovery guys is there to meet me. And in fact, he's one of the guys I interviewed here about a month and a half ago. We started comparing notes, and turned out he was the guy that did it. So I got to actually put a face to a name, and met him, and he's the guy up the ladder, shake my hand, and I tell him, other than hydraulics, pretty good jet. That was it.
Yeah, other than that, it's fine. It's almost code 1. Here's a small detail I'm curious about. So you mentioned master warning and then hydraulic light. Was that hydraulic light in English, or is it Cyrillic? Is it Russian?
No, we'd actually put that one. I think we had changed out a lot of those lights. We had changed out those to English. So I think all it said is main and hydraulic abbreviated. So as I recollect, I think that's what it just main hydraulic.
Yeah, not being an engineer nor a maintainer. Even something like that, figuring out that, hey, that light is the hydraulic light, and knowing to switch that out with all the other appropriate ones. Like, maybe someone converted the manual, but to me that's impressive. Those details.
Pretty good. So no one before, no one since had ever had that failure. And
was it a busted cape or a busted hose?
Well, what it was is, again, there's a whole chapter in the book on this, on the whole episode. But what it was is on the inboard pylons of the wing root, inboard of the movable wing, there was a pylon there, which we never carried captive carry AIM-9s or anything like that, or ATOLs. So we had no use for those after they got done exploiting the airplane. So the electrical umbilical that had been in that pylon, I can only imagine that some years before they just taken this long umbilical and he just jammed it up in one of the access panels and screwed it on and forgot about it. Well, over time, as the wings were moving, somewhere that umbilical got caught on something, the wing sweep mechanism. And little by little, over the years, it just kept getting, it's kind of like trying to thread your shoelace through something. It just kept getting pulled until on that day, the final straw was, when I went to sweep that thing to 72, it was right up against 4 hydraulic lines, 2 for the main, 2 for the boost. Had it gone another inch further, my boost would have gone, I would have punched out. But what it did, it got to the 2 main hydraulic lines, which are about the size of your, I'm not doing this purposely, but the size of your middle finger for all your viewers. That's about the size and diameter of this aluminum hydraulic line. One going out to the wing sweep, one coming in actually to the flaps and stuff. Well, when I went to 72, it just pulled right through that. And about the following day, in fact, the assistant deputy maintenance officer came in, a guy named Fred Garcia, Jose, came in, and I was sitting in one of the flight rooms at the desk, and he came with 2 pieces. One was a bracket, and it had those 4 hydraulic lines, and 2 of them were just jagged and torn. You can see they had been punctured, and the other 2 was still there, luckily. And the other thing he threw was that umbilical. It was about the size of your fist. It was pretty good, and that's what had pulled through there. So those 2 things that was the cause. And like I said earlier, had it happened on the ground when I put the wings all the way back as part of my pre-taxi check, I would have had a big hydraulic failure right there on the ground. No big deal. Or had it happened when I put the wings back to taxi in after landing, same thing, not a big deal. Just shut down, they'll tow you in. But it happened when I was airborne at the most inopportune time. And again, rather be lucky than good, but had it gone a little bit further and even crimped one of the boost system lines, there's no way I could have gotten the wings full forward. I would have been punching out. So thank my lucky stars that day. Yeah.
No joke. Were the wings moving symmetrically when they're closing because it's running off the boost system? So
yeah,
okay,
yeah, they were.
So I imagine mixing a asymmetric. Yeah, asymmetric would have been a different story too, probably.
Yeah, asymmetric, you would have been punching out. And the one nice thing, up just to my upper right side as I'm looking at it on the instrument panel, actually right above to the right of the combining glass, there's a wing sweep mechanism. It shows you where your wings are and gives you degrees, so you can pretty much tell where your wings are doing. And they're both moving. So even though I couldn't see them, out the side, I could see a little bit out of the periscope, but I could see them on the instrument panel. I could see, okay, hey, they're moving, but man, they're moving slow. Again, I think, yeah, it's took them a long time to get forward. Mm-hmm.
I guess that hydraulic gauge is hidden because it's either working or it's not, so you don't really even need it.
Yeah.
You don't even need it there, right?
Yeah, yeah. There are other things I needed more to look at, like your fuel gauge and your
Yeah.
engine, your tack gauges, engine temperature, things like that. But hydraulic gauge, just like we referenced earlier, hey, if it's in the green, it's in the green. If it's somewhere other, there's going to be a light that's going to come on and tell me about it. So yeah, it's normal course of flying. I never looked down at this really, other than probably the first couple hops in the airplane when you're looking at everything. Yeah, after a while you go, it's going to tell me if something's effed up. So.
That's right.
That's right.
I do want to talk. I do want to talk F-15. I do want to talk F-4 things. But before we do that, is there anything I'm missing? Is there a question I should be asking you about the Red Eagles?
No, I think we're hitting all the big ones. Kind of talked about the caliber of the pilot that we had in the squadron. The Navy guys and Marine Corps guys were just, I couldn't say enough good things about them. They were, you think we were handpicked? They were really handpicked. Well, I would say most of those guys, of the people I knew that were there while I was there, almost all of them went on to get a star, if not many stars. And
Well, to know,
yeah.
I think General Carlisle is after you, Hawk Carlisle. He was the 4-star that certified me as a demo pilot. So
was it? Yeah, Hawk got there about 9 months before I left. In fact, interesting you mentioned Hawk. When he was in the, I believe, the 9th Squadron down there at Holloman, as he was a weapons officer, and he'd come up to fight against. I think they had a Red Eagle deployment. Also, I think they're doing some aggressor support, whatever it was. He was up. I think a guy named Sparky Coy had been an aggressor. He was the squadron commander at the time, and I think he had been talking to the Red Eagles about, hey, you need to hire this guy. So Hawk actually came up in a clean, as I recall, clean A model, F-15A, and I fought against him in the MiG-21, and I didn't know him before that, and I just remember having a 1v1 with him, and wasn't necessary because I knew that he's kind of being looked at, screened for maybe a job there, and so rather than the typical 9,000-foot perch setup offensive defense, so I think it was more of a line of press neutral, and let's just go fights on. And we just went around. I think we had 2 engagements. They were just in the phone booth, rolling scissors the whole time, and neither one of us ever got a shot. So I came back, Paco Geisler, who was, you may have recalled that name.